What up, what up, what up?
How's it going, Shelby?
Oh, man, I couldn't be any happier than a orange-tailed rooster in a red wagon going downhill.
You took the words right out of my mouth, buddy.
All right, let's do an intro. Oh, man. It's been one of those days, my friend. One of those days.
Yeah, coming right after Halloween. How was your Halloween, man? Did you dress up?
I did not. I tried to. I have a really fancy Star Wars costume, but it's like very heavy because it's like, Disney certified and shit. So it's like pretty professional. It cost me like $500.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Todd, what's up, my friend? And hello, LaCruz. That's always the first one in the show.
Las Cruces, always. Todd, buddy, what is going on, man?
Yeah, so it's just way too hot. So I had a couple other costumes, but I knew one of them, if I put on, I usually need help getting out of it. Hey, Jokers.
Joker, what's up? Long time, buddy.
So I went to the costume store last week and they had a few things. I mean, most stuff was sold out, but man, when did costumes get to be like $50, $60, dude? I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm used to all the old Ben Cooper days or something, just give me the plastic mask and the plastic sheet over me. And
basically a trash bag with a plastic mask of the
I'm ready to go, dog. That has the little elastic that lasts one time. And then, you try to tape it and the tape don't work. And, your mom don't have a stapler or anything.
Well, how do you go from that to you've got a $500 costume sitting in your closet and you're like, I don't want to spend $50. That's crazy.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, if it was a costume I liked, I guess that was the deal, right? Is most of them, what was left over was crap.
Yeah, that's true.
You could be like Jake the Redneck or something,
Jake the Redneck.
I don't.
He is my favorite character.
Oh, man. You got a thank you there. Jeff got the micro sign, deceased Harley. Thanks so much.
Awesome, buddy. I'm glad you like it, man.
That's what I like to see. Us getting comic books to the people. But anyway, how about you? How was your Halloween? Give away any poison apples or anything?
Man, it was interesting. So the first year, because I've been in Nashville for 4 years now.
Okay.
So the first year we moved in here, we had 30, 40 kids come by. We're on a little bit of a busy street, but it's not too bad. And then, another year, only a few people. Last year, obviously the COVID. So we're like, okay, we're not expecting anyone. So we didn't have anyone last year. This year, obviously being in the South, everyone's like, we don't care. It's all good. Everyone run and do your thing. We didn't get a single trick-or-treater. Not one. So we got these 2 boxes of, because we always give out the full-blown big-size candies. And man, you got the grifter lot. Oh, awesome, buddy. I'm glad you got it, Todd.
Yeah, we didn't get anybody either, but our community association sent out a newsletter, kind of warning us off of doing trick-or-treating. They had a big fall festival down at our community association on Saturday and stuff. So
yeah, we didn't have any of that. It was free game. And I don't know if people are still a little hesitant about going around, or because I am on a busy street and behind me, there's 2 streets over. That's, not a busy street. So we saw some kids back there. I don't know if parents didn't want them by the main road or something. I don't know. Anyway, other than that, had another great show on Whatnot there. We had a lot of fun there, a lot of giveaways. But other than that, that was about it, man.
Cool. Yeah, I still got to find me some consistent nights and stuff.
All right, what are we talking about tonight, man?
We are talking about getting me back on track.
We're going way back. We're taking the time machine. We're going way back here.
We're getting, as Mr. Peabody would say, in the way back machine and going way back. We are starting at the beginning, since our show is, of course, centered around comic book history,
You have
I
3 times
thought
more than me.
we would do a multiple series on the origin of comic books.
Very true.
So you and I talked about it a little bit. I think you did a show on the ages of comics, golden, silver, bronze, etc. And of course, we did the show on Siegel and Schuster, which was kind of the beginning, I guess. We were talking about this earlier.
Of the golden,
Yeah, Superman.
And now you're talking about like Moses chiseling on stone.
Not quite
That's what you're
that
talking
far
about,
back.
right?
We're not going quite that far back. That may be the first comic book is the Ten Commandments. I'm not sure. If he had pictures of God smiting you or something on it. But
on the pyramid, pictures on the side of pyramid, no caves.
Yeah, no, we're kind of going. So we were talking about this earlier, and we were talking about like the age before golden is platinum age. And I had always kind of considered the platinum age as
the gummies.
the 1800s, right? And actually, if you look at the Overstreet, they now at the beginning of the Overstreet, they actually have a section for big little books, and which we'll talk about a little bit today, and the platinum age, and also promotional comics. So they've actually expanded it quite a bit. You and I were talking a week or so ago about doing a series on promotional books, and I think both of us was thinking about the promotional books that we talked about before, but promotional was really some of the very first comics that we had in our history, and we'll talk about a little bit of that today. So we will get started.
Let's dive right into it while we eat some gummies.
All right. Comic books and origin story.
Dun dun dun. We need like a soundtrack now. I think we're at the point now. We've done enough shows. We need a soundtrack.
We need a soundtrack. I'll work on that. So this is kind of a misnomer. I didn't have enough room to write everything. But before the modern format comic, so we're not talking about the modern age, of course. We're talking about size.
Size does matter.
The size of comics. Relatively, this size is considered the modern format. Golden Age weren't very much bigger than these. They were, about half an inch, quarter of an inch larger. But what we're talking about is modern format comics. So this is pre-1934. The next series, the next part will be 1934 onward. So how it began. Of course, we've talked about this before, is comics, our modern American comics, have its birth in the comic strips, which were tremendously popular in newspapers at the turn of the century, turn of the 19th century. Newspapers were big business. Think about it, there was no movies, there were no television. Newspapers is how people got their information. If you ever seen the Tom Hanks movie History of the World, it's really good because it's like this guy traveling around. He reads newspapers to these small communities, which most of them can't read. So it's almost like a show, right? Him just reading the newspapers and stuff. It's very, very interesting. One of the most popular, which happens to be my nickname, was Foxy Grandpa. And the comic strips was based around him outfoxing his two prankish nephews, and this ran from 1901 to 1916. So you can also think about the times here, right? Is, you and I also talk about that quite a bit, as the culture and the way the culture shapes comics.
Right.
And so what you have is an elderly person whom outwits his younger nephews, whom are pranksters, right? So it kind of speaks to the culture of respecting your elders, that your elders, are knowledgeable. So kids were thinking that us old people were stupid all the way back in the early 1900s. But there's more than 24 reprints, some in hardcover, ranging from 24 to 52 pages. However, the sizes is what really differentiates these. So a lot of them was really larger, like 10 by 15, and then some were as small as 6 by 7, so almost a small square comic. Other popular reprints of the day, Buster Brown. Probably not a lot of people remember Buster Brown, but that was a shoe. And I remember every year for school being taken to the shoe store and getting my new Buster Browns to wear to school. Cats and Jammer Kids, Happy Hooligan, Mutt and Jeff, and various works of Winsor McKay, whom is more popularly known for Little Nemo, which is considered the best comic book ever created. But prior to Little Nemo, he was known for Little Sammy Sneeze, The Dreams of Rarebit Fiends, and The Story of Hungry Henrietta. So we see Little Sammy Sneeze there on the right hand side. But you gotta love his artwork. I mean, I just marvel at his artwork here, looking at the whimsicalness of it and such. Just amazing stuff from Winsor McKay. So some early publishers. One of the biggest reprint publishers was a group called Couples and Leon. Those from 1906 and 1934. They're best known for publishing Buster Brown, Little Nemo, Mutt and Jeff, the Gumps. So before Forrest Gump, there was the Gumps, and Bringing Up Father. Again, it's the size that really differentiates these. These were 9.5 square. They had flexible cardboard covers. They were printed in red and black ink that you see here on the right-hand side. And it's really amazing. I didn't really realize it was just red and black ink until I started looking and noticing, especially like that Tilly toddler and little Jimmy, that was all completely red and black ink. And it's pretty amazing what they were able to achieve with just those two colors. Other notable companies with Donahue, they did Charlie Chaplin. Gossett and Dunlap, they did Tarzan, which of course was Edgar Rice Burroughs. David McKay had Mickey Mouse. And then MB Distribution did Comic Monthly. And this only lasted for 12 issues, and you can see a copy of it there on the right-hand side. This was pretty close to what we think of as modern books. One, because it has the name comic, but it was serialized. So there's a different comic strip each issue. It's just still slightly different than what we think of as modern. Notice there on the examples on the right, these are still single pages that are bound together by some kind of binding on the left-hand side. So that is a denotation, really, of what we think of with modern format books. Is if it's bound like that, then it's not considered really a modern comic book. So it's that folded over of the pages and stapled, which denotes that movement to a modern format comic.
Very cool.
Yeah. Oh, so you and I have talked about these guys before.
Oh yeah.
Dale Publishing. In 1929, George Delacorte, founder of Dale, created the Funnies. This is really close. This is a really close precursor to modern comics.
I was going to say, that's normally considered one of the first ones.
You're thinking of, they did another one called the Funnies. This is
you're right. You're right.
Yeah, this is volume 1, which is why I have this picture here. Literally what they did is they took the same newsprint that Sundays did. Hey, Emmy. That Sunday newspapers did, and put that out on newsstands. So if you notice the Funnies Weekly there is actually a large newspaper format, if you can't tell, and see how it's folded in the middle.
Yep.
So it's folded just like a newspaper, and they try to sell it on newsstands. But anyway, but this has some like I said, this is a real close precursor. Whitman, which we've talked about before. So actually, we're going to talk about 3 companies that kind of joined together at some point in the future: Dale, Whitman, and Eastern Publishing. So you and I have talked about those with like the Dale, Gold Key, Eastern Publishing, and Whitman reprints.
Yep.
They all end up becoming a single, kind of a single company later on in the 60s. But beginning in 1932, Whitman introduced the Big Little Book, which didn't we do a show on Big Little Books?
I was going to say, you have some hanging around there. We did.
I think we did. So yeah,
Show
Big
some off
Little
right there.
Books. Yeah, so Big Little Books were first published 3.5 by 4.5, usually 300 to 400 pages. They are denoted by having a narrative on one side and an illustration on the other. So literally what they did is they took comic strips and cut them up, whited out the word balloons, changed artwork if they needed to, and then they hired someone to actually write the narrative. But the very first Big Little Book was The Adventures of Dick Tracy that you see there on the right. This was quickly followed up by Buck Rogers, Little Orphan Annie, Chester Gump at Silver Ranch, Tarzan of the Apes, and the regular fellers. Big Little Books, their print run, I mean, this is in 1934, 1935, print runs of 250,000 copies. Again, that, think about the time, right? No TV,
Nothing else.
Some radio. I guess radio was fairly prolific by the 1930s.
Yeah, it's definitely around.
But radio serials,
replay, you couldn't tape it. I mean, it was on when it was on, and that was it. So if you missed it, then you had nothing else to do. So you had to read something.
Exactly. So so very large print runs for these early books. Writers were paid $250 to write the narrative, and then they got 1/4 cent royalty per book, which I saw one note when compared to other nonfiction writers of the time, this was pretty big money.
That's good. That sounds big.
Yeah, even today sounds fairly lucrative. I would love to find one of these old Big Little Books like that. Oh,
I thought you had the Dick Tracy one for some reason.
No, there's so many Dick Tracys. There's about 36 different Dick Tracys, I found out. So
a lot of dicks out there. I got you.
A lot of dicks, yeah. All right, so the first modern format comic book. And all this may sound a little silly. I actually felt a little silly writing it when I was doing some of the research. But in 1933, Harry Windenberg, who worked at Eastern Publishing, which we just talked about, discovered, I know that sounds funny, but he discovered that 2 printing plates could fit on a single tabloid size page. And then you could fold that tabloid to produce what we think of as the modern comic format. I know it sounds silly that no one really thought of that.
Genius.
Yeah, right. But, this was a salesperson for the company, and because what they did is if we look here at the Funnies, right, this is one large plate that they used. But if you turn that on its side and do 2 plates, and we've talked plenty of time about printing plates and such, then you can just fold that and staple it in the middle and have a comic book. So yeah, it's kind of funny, to say that they discovered it, but no one had really thought about doing that before.
And like I said, it does sound a little odd just because they were so successful. And you think when something's successful, you try and think of other ways to reproduce it or do something a little bit different to keep the sales going. So yeah, it is kind of interesting.
Yeah, but everything has its origin somewhere, right? I mean, we take a lot of things, I think, for granted in what we have in our modern life, but it all has some kind of weird origin somewhere, Someone had to discover it, Um, you know, someone had discovered that there is a thing called a coffee pot, or a refrigerator. You didn't have to carry ice up, or I use my story of bottled water, right? I mean,
oh man, what genius is bottled water?
what genius, right? But back in the 80s and even 90s, when we were kids, there wasn't any bottled water, man.
You
You
drink out of
went
the
out to the
hose. You
faucet.
thirsty
You
for the
went to
hose
the
right there. What do you
hose.
mean bottled water? Get out of here.
Get out of here, bottled water.
You want me to pay for something and get for free right
Get
here?
out of free, out of
No
the
way.
freaking hose. That's right. So, oh well. Anyway, along with MC Gaines, whom we talked about a little bit on the periphery, and the owner of Eastern Publishing, George Janasic, I'm going to say, they produced Funnies on Parade, which is that top comic there on the right-hand side. These were sold actually as giveaways in mail-in coupons. So if you notice, Funnies on Parade does not. Oh hell, yeah!
Thunder
what a mess!
God. What is up, Thunder? Have no fear.
Have no
Thunder
fear.
God is here.
Thunder is here.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah. So if you notice, Funnies on Parade does not have a price tag on the front. And that's because it was not sold on newsstands. It was sold as giveaways for mailing coupons through companies such as Procter and Gamble, whom is still around today, Canadian Dry, which is still around today. Mm-hmm. And Kenny Shoes. I don't think Kenny Shoes is around anymore, but I remember Kenny Shoes back in the 70s. Vaguely, yeah. Later in 1933, Gaines collaborated with Dell Publishing to produce 36-page, right now, here we are, the modern format comic book. 36 pages, one large sheet, folded over, stapled, and produced a one-shot called Famous Funnies, A Carnival of Comics. So this is widely considered the very first.
Yeah, this is the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. It was quickly followed in 1934 by Famous Funnies. Famous, and you can see the number 1 down there at the bottom. Famous Funnies had a print run of 200,000 copies and ran for 218 issues. Number 1, Famous Funnies number 1, they actually lost $4,000 on that book. It only had a 90% sell-through rate. But by issue 12, they were gaining around $30,000 in profit a month. So it just took off. I mean, it's just like, within a year, they're making profit. They're publishing this modern format comic. And in part 2, we're going to talk about how that broke the wellspring, so to speak, of all the other publishers and comics and things like that. We're coming right up here to the cusp of the origin. While Famous Funnies did include mostly reprinted comic strips, they was the first book to produce some original work. So every book had at least a couple of pages of original work. That's another thing that differentiated them from any other book at that time. All of the others were reprints of newspaper strips. And even Famous Funnies, A Carnival of Comics. And most of one or the other, I think most of Famous Funnies, which was sold, was actually mostly reprints of Funny on Parade. So a large portion of Funnies on Parade was reprinted in Famous Funnies, A Carnival of Comics. So some notable things here with Famous Funnies. By year 3, Famous Funnies was attracting the best Associated Press syndicated strips from creators such as Noel Sickles, Milton Caniff, Ralph Fuller, Mel Graff, Colton Waugh, and Bert Christman. Another note, in issue 62, there's a little 2-page strip that lasted, I think, about 10 issues called Lightning and the Lone Rider. It was their version of the Lone Ranger. And it was drawn by a young artist that went by the pen name of Lance Kirby.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So Jack Kirby. That was his first work in comics, was in Famous Funnies.
That's pretty cool.
And then once the superhero comics started being produced, Famous Funnies would star more action hero strips such as Buck Rogers, Scorchy Smith, and Dickie Dare. And I put a couple, so the put a couple of these here on the right. Famous Funnies number 81. Meet Invisible Scarlett O'Neal, America's Miracle Girl. I just love these covers and the art. I love the red Famous Funnies there. I want to find that book. I've now got a new hunt for something. But this is Famous Funnies 214.
Yeah, I mean the covers, I mean, even Silver Age, Silver Age stuff. Compare that to the covers that you see now, as far as the colors go. It's amazing. You get those cool yellow and red covers. I mean, they pop. They look amazing compared
It's
to like
amazing.
the covers we get now. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
You'd think we'd be getting better at this, but no, the old ones are much better.
So Hoarder High dropping some knowledge over here. Yeah, I didn't go into a deep dive, Hoarder. That'd be like another whole episode on like the history of Buck Rogers and stuff. Issue 3 was the first Buck Rogers in comics. Before then, it was newspaper strips and things like that, but comic book form. And then, of course, there's Big Little Books.
Right. Even Thunder on here saying Superman was the first comic hero, but it depends, I guess, what your definition then of this, because we talked about this earlier. We had Phantom was out before that. You had Doc Savage, who had superhuman powers. They were all before Superman, so it's really what you want to consider as the first superhuman, first comic hero, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. No, and yeah, Jeff and I, we've talked about that plenty of times, what you want to define. That's why I said superhero, meaning I guess Superman in this case. But no, you're right. The Shadow and so many others also came along. And in part 2, we're going to break out a lot of those characters. We're going to talk about a lot of those characters in part 2. And then
I know you're talking about this, but I don't want to jump. Or we talked about this earlier before. So Golden Age, in my mind, I always have before the Golden Age is Platinum, and that includes everything. Anything before Golden Age is Platinum in my mind. But is it really broken down into other ages besides Platinum?
Yeah, before Platinum is the Victorian age, which is your political comic strips from the mid 1800s. The Platinum Age is actually considered somewhere around the late 1800s when they started producing comic strips in newspapers versus just the single panel political cartoons. So that's considered the Platinum Age. I meant to look for, and I couldn't find it really quickly. I had a book around here. If y'all see the mess in my room.
We all got it.
I have a book of syndicated military comic strips and stuff, and it has some of that denotation that goes back to the Platinum Age, because World War One, right, which was 1917 to 19. We went into the war in 1919, I think. It lasted 1921, if I'm not mistaken.
20. Yeah.
But yes, Thunder, you're a superhero. Yes. Now I did try to corroborate that Hoarder's Hide to make sure that Famous Funnies was monthly, but it does say on 81 here that it's the nation's comic monthly. I'm not positive the very first few issues were monthly. I think they probably put it out, waited to see what some of the feedback and reception and profit was, and then got onto a regular schedule after around issue 12, is my suspect.
It makes sense. I mean, usually, you like you said, you're gonna put it out. The first one, will do something, and 2 and 3. Once you get 3, 4, it gets low, and then 5, 6, 7. I mean, that starts coming up from there. So
Okay, so he says with starting with issue 2 that it was a monthly book. Okay, yeah, I feel
very
like
cool.
there's probably a little bit of time between issue 1 and issue 2. I just kind of felt from reading some things that there may have been a little bit of time there. I wasn't sure if as early as issue 2 it was completely monthly.
They skipped a month then.
Yeah, and there's actually like one missing issue in the run. I think like 37 or something like that. There's not a 37. It's kind of weird. There's one missing issue in there. Okay, they skipped a month. All right, cool. Thank you, Hoarder's Hide. We need to have you on the show sometime. Dropping all this great comic knowledge. Have another expert on here. Hook up with me on IG, and if you're interested, then when we get to part 2, maybe we can collaborate.
Yeah,
Conspire.
Hoarder, weren't you the one that had wasn't I watching your show, and you were like cataloging books, and you had the overhead projector down there so we can see what you were cataloging, and you just had like stacks up to the ceiling going all the way back in a warehouse. It was
Really?
insane the amount.
What the hell am I missing? Let me make sure I even got Hoarder's Hides.
Maybe I'm thinking the wrong person. But Hoarder, let me know if that was you or not. But I'm pretty sure that was you. Yep, that was you. Okay. Yeah, I
All right,
remember watching. I was like, "Oh my god,
yeah,
that is awesome."
I'm sub to you. I'm sub to you.
He just doesn't watch
So
you.
yeah, I'm sub to you. Here, I'm going to drop your YouTube, my friend, in the StreamYard. So if other people want to sub you up,
17,000.
definitely y'all go sub up Hoarder's Hide. And yeah, let's talk, my friend. Hit me up over on IG. I'll try to remember. Let me see. Are you on IG? I don't see Hoarder's Hide on IG. So let me know if you're on IG, my friend.
Yeah, we get it. We get it
Okay.
hooked up.
All right. So we're kind of getting here to the end. I try to keep it about 8 slides or so, but a lot of great stuff. And just for Jeff.
Show me the money.
So most of these comics are actually relatively affordable. I looked up in my brand new Overstreet the prices. Carnival Comics in an 8.0, I don't think there's actually a known 992 of this book. $45,000, compared to like 2 million for an Action 1 or something like that. That's relatively affordable, right? Yeah, I'll buy
Yep.
3 of them. Not really, but
Shelby's money. Shelby's big YouTube money. He can buy that. He can
that's
afford
right. My big YouTuber. Man, I had to beg to get over 300 subs, dude. I'm about ready to go out and pay people. All right, Famous Funnies number 1, $25,000. And then I was looking at some others. Frazetta,
Rosetta cover.
starting
Love the
starting
Rosetta
in
covers.
1953 to 1954, did the covers for 109 to 116. $3,100 and 9.2.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd be all over that, you know.
Who needs to collect these foreign comic books, man? Check this out. You can get Frazetta covers.
I know,
High
right?
grade from the 1950s.
I know. And then the last issue, Famous Funnies 118, this is a mistake. It says 8.2, meant 9.2. In the guide, it says a 9.2 is only worth $105 for Famous Funnies 218. I mean, that's
a whole
crazy.
Other rabbit hole you can go down, Shelby.
Huh?
That's a whole other rabbit hole you can go down.
I agree with you, but that's crazy that these,
history like this.
Yeah. The comic book history of this, right? I mean, are so affordable. I'm shocked. I'm calling someone up. That's all I can say. I actually saw a sale. You can still pick up some books. It is Hoarder's Hide. All right, I'll see if I can find you. I just did a search for Hoarder's Hide. I might have misspelled it because I'm a terrible speller. Yeah, we got a weird little hashtaggy thing. All right, I followed you, but it won't let, since it's a hashtag, it won't let me message you. So I just followed you. Send me a message, Hoarder, please. But yeah, it's, I mean, relatively affordable. I mean, like I said, I was shocked. I was completely shocked. I knew they were relatively affordable. I actually saw some Edgar Church copies of Famous Funnies for sale about a year ago, and I wanted to buy a couple just to say I own some Edgar Church copies. They weren't higher grade. Y'all go help out Thunder. Only 3 away from 600. Help a brother out.
That's it. I thought you got the 600 ready, or is that one of the things where YouTube knocks you back down after you get it? Yeah, we got to get Thunder up to 600. That's ridiculous. You're not over 600 yet.
Yeah. So help a brother out. But I know that I've seen some higher grade Edgar Church go for only like $600-800. Like I said, I almost bought a couple just say I own some Edgar Church, but they were the funny cartoon covers, right? They weren't the Buck Rogers covers and things like that, which is the ones I wanted.
Yeah, the subject matter is the one. Yeah, that's what they want.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So that is it. Like I said, we're going to do part 2, really kind of, because I think so many people know about, of course, Superman and Batman, right? But really get into now that we've entered this modern, with this episode, modern comics in 1934, what does that wellspring look like now? And how that branches out into everything else. So
very cool, man. Insightful as always. A lot of good stuff in there. If anyone likes Jeff, you can see him on Thursday nights. That is right, Thunder. You can find me in the Ducks. If anyone likes Ducks, it shouldn't be me. If anyone likes Ducks.
I have not committed. I've not committed to Thunder yet for Thursday.
Speaking of Ducks.
Oh, that's awful big for a large.
Yeah, Shelby hooked me up with the Lucky Duck shirt for the races. Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome, my friend.
That is awesome. Got it right next to me here. Yeah, and then next week, going into what I love, the 90s goodness, so diving more into the history of some of the 90s stuff. I said it's probably going to be on Wildstorm, since I've kind of had that one going for a little bit, but I might do something else. But we're going to definitely be talking more about 90s stuff, because that's what I love talking about in there as well. So that'll be the next one over on my channel over there. So I'll definitely be there. And what else you got going on this week?
I'm going to be on Whatnot on Tuesday. I haven't committed to Thunder for Thursday. Like I told you earlier, is there's a certain amount that we like to make I mean, we enjoy getting comics to the people, don't get me wrong, but there's a certain amount of money we kind of need to make every week in order to make this equitable for us, right? I mean, we don't do this. If I was rich, um,
Oh, that's a good one, Hoarders.
yeah, no, it's coming up. I talked to Jeff. That's one of the early ones, Dale 4-color. I have a really nice Dale collection. That was
So
one of
that's a
my
yes, Hoarders.
jams.
Yes.
Huh?
So that's a yes. Yes,
Yeah,
we'll do
yeah,
that one. We've talked about that before, so yeah.
yeah. But yeah, Dale is one of my jams, dude. So I don't have a lot of 4-color. I do have Christmas Parade #1. I've got a couple other nice things in the old collection. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, you know, while we love buying and selling and stuff, there's got to be a certain equitable amount. And I didn't make it last week on Whatnot, so I need to double up a little bit and see. So I can't commit to anything till I see how Tuesday goes. So trying to put the run together. I'm up to about wow.
Well, when you got 17,000 comics, yeah.
But that 4-color run is over 1,000 books, I think, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah. Oh, sure it is. And yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in those 4-color, mostly Disney at one point, but there you go. 3352. Very nice.
1352.
Yeah. Well, definitely, like I said, hit me, send me a message, Hoarder, over on IG if you don't mind. I hit you a follow, so you should be able to find me pretty easy. And yeah, let's talk. And I'd love to hear more. I guess I'm gonna have to go look at some of your videos a little closer on see some of this stuff that old Jeff was talking about.
It's impressive. Pretty impressive. Yeah, he does hangouts while he's just cataloging all that live. So
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'm gonna have to give you a also do a notification then, so get notified. But yeah, so anyway, just kind of short. Like I said, I just wanted to really get us up to 1934 and you know, if people didn't know. But at least, you know, kind of what I think Jeff and I always talk about is at least getting this out here to the public.
Yeah,
Can be found later. Can be found later. You know, there may be only, I don't know how many people are watching, probably 8 or so. But
we're bringing it to the masses, my friend.
But what people don't know if they don't check up, like usually within a week we have 80 views at a minimum. And then within a couple of weeks we usually some of our episodes break 100. So we're getting out there. A lot of people watch us on the rewind.
Oh, my duck shirt.
You know, you're nothing but mean to me a lot of times, so you know, sorry. And I don't know your size. I know Jeff's size because we've done yes. Thank you, Jokers.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, man.
We do. We appreciate it. Yeah, and always give a thumbs up, please. That always helps us out with the old YouTube algorithm. So I know recently I just hit over 5,000 views of all of my videos and stuff. So
wow, that's
a pretty
awesome,
big
man.
milestone. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, they sent me a nice little they didn't send me a plaque, they just sent me an email that said congratulations.
Hey, hey, that's cool. Black email, that's all what matters. I think I'm up to like I think 100 views, so you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, I do have. I just dropped my 121st mail call video. So
wow. Yeah, like I said, if you guys aren't watching his stuff on the regular, man, he puts so much time and effort and editing and all the stuff and everything. It's just he does an amazing job at this. So definitely just give him a watch on some of those because he really puts a lot of time into that and it really shows.
Yeah, I
That's why all the
appreciate
ones you
it.
see on my channel, it's just this. I'm just going live because I don't edit. I don't do anything else. It's just live, and it's just us just talking. So, like I said, even when we first started this, and I said, "Hey, it was just me and Shelby just talking." That's all I want to do, man. I mean, we're just talking about comics and talking about the history. I don't care if anyone else is watching or not. It's great, and I hope that people do. But this is just interesting for me. So, I
Yeah,
appreciate you, buddy, for sticking around and doing this for as long as you have already with us.
yeah, I had some fleek woman. Wow.
1,500. You must
Okay,
have one
I'm
of
gonna
those
have to
cool
go.
keywords in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go see what that is. Um, yeah, man, I'm very interested in the Wildstorm. I was actually looking at uh some of the licensing stuff Wildstorm did in the late 90s with like the people make fun of me saying horror. So with the scary books, they did Texas Chainsaw Massacre and
Mm-hmm.
I think they did the Jasons and things like that. They had a lot of interesting licenses and stuff. I think a lot of it they picked up from Icon Press. I'm not sure if it crossed over or it just lost licensing, but
Yeah, I think it was they lost licensing, but yeah, we'll
yeah,
dive into all that because out of all the image companies, because obviously image is just the umbrella of all of the companies, and it's Wildstorm was the most interesting one because they did the most with it that I really
yeah,
think, and obviously we know they sold to DC and everything, but yeah, they had the most interesting track record of all that, and they pushed the envelope on a lot of things, and they're really remodeling what they saw companies in the past did and
yeah,
that was
yeah.
very very different from all the rest of their contemporaries there. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I found, just looking at some of the things here recently, yeah, definitely I saw some um, correlation between maybe Dark Horse or even early specific comics or, innovation or now publications. So, yeah.
That would be a fun episode to do. Maybe I'll do that one since you're going through the old stuff. All those other comic book companies that kind of like were there for a little bit and were like now, if you remember now, that was big. First comics. Some of those had a couple of cool books in there that I remember reading that you never really heard anything much from it, but they had licensing deals and they had some cool stuff they were trying to do.
Yeah, Now did the very first original Terminator
They did
story
Terminator.
in
Yeah.
comic books. Of course, Innovation.
That was the first Alex Ross artwork in Terminator
Yeah,
Burning Earth.
Innovation. Was
Yeah.
doing this licensing stuff like Anne Rice, Vampire Lestat, which I have this full set for
Captain
sale. If
Beardo,
anybody's
what's up?
interested, this not sell on Halloween night. So if anybody's interested, I have the full run of Vampire Lestat for
Roy, you don't
sale.
Mondays turn into a claim show, folks. Get it ready.
Turning into a claim show. But yeah, the all 12 issues, high grade of Vampire Lestat. If anybody's
What's the starting
interested,
bid at? Starting bid right now, Shelby.
starting bid $80.
$80. Someone throw $80 out there.
Um,
And you get a t-shirt.
but
Yeah, Tyler Kirkham, is launching a new publication company. Yep.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I just saw that news.
But yeah, and then of course Pacific Comics was pretty big. I mean, this was early 80s stuff, like 81, 82, 83.
Yep.
Pacific. So yeah, I think it'd be pretty interesting to I mean, I know there's just so many
There's a
indies
bunch of small
yet,
ones. I
but
think that would be kind of a cool show to go over all the smaller ones that popped up in the 80s and 90s and some of the things they did. So I think I'll do that on one of my next ones too.
okay.
Hoarder, yeah, we were talking about Terminator from Now Comics. Then we talked about Alex Ross, his first artwork being in Burning Earth there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, but yeah. Hey, you guys leave like and a comment. We always take anybody interested in any other topics, or even being a guest. We love having guests on and sharing their knowledge and stuff about comics. So we even had Thunder on once. So we'll give you a try at least once. But yeah, what you got going on this week, my friend?
The normal.
What's happening in the Jeffiverse?
Terminator preview, and Ross seemed to have all the previews, right? They had Spawn, they have Terminator, all those preview ones of that could be another good show too. Just talking about previews, if they're considered first appearances or not.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy at that little show I did, that little show I went to a couple of weeks ago. That I bought some variant stuff from, and I had forgotten about those preview books, and he pulled it out, and I'd seen it before, but it was on the back cover, first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in color. Because they were always published in black and white. And then
I always thought the first one was in Grimjack. Was the first time they were in color.
No, this was a preview book that was done by Dennis Kitchen for all the indies. Dennis Kitchen, of course, is a big supporter of indies back at that time. So he put out a preview book that just had all indie companies. He didn't care who.
New Age Comics, yeah.
New Age Comic, and let me catch up.
I would love to do one on Ash Cans too. I know we talked about that a couple of times.
Ash Cans is one of those weird ones too, where
doesn't always come out. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Ash Cans originally was only produced to be able to hold copyrights normally. So if you look at the first Captain Marvel is actually in Wiz #2, because Wiz #1, I believe, was an Ash Can just to hold the name of Wiz Comics. So it's never published. So Wiz 2 is the #1. Then you have, of course, the 1970s Ash Can of canceled Cavalcade, which put out all the last issues that DC didn't publish after the implosion. But then you had these modern Ash Cans, that are just not necessarily, to me, Ash Cans. But anyway, it's an interesting topic nonetheless.
Right. Yeah. It'd be fun one to talk again, because we're talking about this smaller format where we don't go for an hour, we're going for half an hour or less. Something like that would be kind of a cool one. Yeah, New Age Comics has got some good stuff.
Yeah, well, and then one of those previews is considered the first appearance of the Crow, because I think it publishes the first 4 pages or something of the Crow. So yeah, that'd be an interesting topic.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of inconsistencies of what's considered. Sometimes they consider a preview of first appearance, but they don't do that all the time. They're not consistent about it.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting how they decide which one is going to be a first appearance and which one isn't.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yep.
That's a whole other topic to go into. But again, man, thank you guys for hanging out with us for an hour as well. We were just talking a little bit off here, but hey, we have fun. That's what we do here.
It is.
Probably some great information you had out there, man. So anything else you got going on, or?
No, like I said, that is it. I'll be on Whatnot.
Captain, thank you so much, man. Always appreciate you coming by, hanging out with us.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I knew that for the Power Rangers.
I didn't know that for the Power Rangers, but I'm not a Power Rangers fan, so. No, Tuesday I'll be on Whatnot, and we'll see how that goes before I commit. Sorry to Thunder on Thursday. They've got to make that money. Got to keep the machine pumping. Especially after dropping about $500 on that comic book last Saturday. So, So, but anyway, have you bought anything big, interesting?
Not single. I mean, the biggest ones. I mean, that Hulk 340 had a couple issues of those I grabbed, and a couple small collections. For $900, $1,000, stuff like that. So nothing huge.
Okay, all right. Yep. Well, I just bought that Something is Killing the Children #1 first print.
Nice.
Right
by there, 9.8, right there.
Do you?
Yeah.
So.
All right, Todd, man. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. I'll see you on Wednesday, my friend. Thank you.
All right. So that's it. Hey, thank you all. Appreciate y'all tuning in. And with that, we're going to say good night. And as always, peace, love, and comics.
And comics.
Bye.